Coaching is the top desired skill for managers, according to a recent survey of 1,500 leaders in Chief Learning Officer magazine. Understandable, because when coaching is done well, people are 32% more committed to their work and 46% more satisfied with their jobs. Oh, you like those numbers? Well, so do I. So today I'm going to run you through a very practical and well-known coaching model because it's effective, it's going to keep you and your team member on track, and it means that you'll always know where you're headed next, even if you get blindsided or thrown off course. So that means you get to feel confident every step of the way. The GROW coaching model is a well-known coaching framework used for coaching conversations, which is why we're talking about it today. But it's also flexible and used in meetings and everyday leadership to help your team members unlock their potential and possibilities. And for good reason, it's become the world's most popular coaching model for problem solving, goal setting, and performance improvement. So let's get straight into it. GROW represents the 4 stages we move through in a coaching conversation. The G stands for goal, R, reality, O, opportunities and obstacles, and W, way forward. So when you follow this, mostly in order, which I'll talk to you about in a second, it takes you through the conversation with purposeful flow, and it keeps you and your team member focused. But I've got to say, full transparency, as a master coach and someone that's coached over 2,800 hours, which in the coaching world is a lot, I can tell you that often with GROW and even a lot of other coaching models, they don't always go perfectly in order or according to plan. The conversation will often start with the R, reality, rather than the G, goal. Because people are pretty comfortable and well-versed in telling you what is happening now, their reality, and that's generally what's going wrong, rather than where they actually want to be, what their goal is, how they do want it to be. So generally, unguided, people will start with the R. But we still call it the GROW model anyway, because it's catchy and it's easy to remember, a lot easier than ARGO anyway. So G, goal. At the outset of any coaching conversation, it makes sense to establish your team members' wants, what they want to achieve, what they want to work towards, what they want to solve, what they want to make happen. Just as successful people set goals in their work and personal life, setting a goal at this stage of a coaching helps you get a sense of purpose, and it keeps it as a meaningful conversation rather than just falling into chit-chat. So here are some examples of G, goal questions. What is it that you'd like to achieve in this coaching session or our time together today? What goal do you want to achieve? What would you like to happen with? What would you like to happen with? What do you really want? What would you like to accomplish? What result are you trying to achieve? What outcome would be ideal for you? And a tip with your G or goal stage is help your team members stay on track with keeping focused on the positive with their language during the goal section. What I mean by that is what your team member does want rather than what they don't want. We're going to take time for what they don't want next. So the second stage, R, reality. This is the stage of the GROW model that helps you and your team member gain awareness of their current situation, what's going on, the context, the magnitude of the situation. But as I said, sometimes people actually start here rather than with the goal, and that's okay, as long as once they're clear on what's happening now, reality, you as the coach can guide them through to their goal so that they're really clear on what they do want. And a top tip for the R, reality, slow things down with your questioning. This is not an interrogation. Just ask one question at a time and give space for your team member to answer in between. Let your team member think about the questions and reflect on their answers and allow them to have time. This is not a time for you to jump in with solutions or to share your own opinions. What's happening now? What, who, when, how, often? What is the effect and the result of that? Have you already taken steps towards your goal? Where are you now in relation to your goal? On a scale of 1 to 10, where are you now? What's contributed to your success so far? What progress have you made? What's working well for you right now? What is required of you? What is it that's prevented you from reaching your goal already? And O for opportunity and obstacles. Once you both have a clear understanding of a situation, the coaching conversation moves to where your team member can start to reach their goals. It's about them exploring what options and opportunities they have available to them and getting clear on what might get in the way, their obstacles. It's all too easy to just take the first idea and then wrap up the session, but your skill as a leader coach is helping your team member to think outside of the box, be creative, to allow them to explore and to find ways of overcoming challenges. So here are some examples of opportunity questions. What are the opportunities you can see right now? What do you need to do next? What could be your first step? What do you think you need to do to get a better result or to get you closer to your goal? What else could you do? What else? What else? What else? Who else might be able to help you out? What would happen if you did nothing? What's worked for you already? How could you do more of that? What would happen if you did that? And here's some examples of obstacle questions. What could get in the way? What has stopped you before? How could you overcome that if it came up again? Where do you see the roadblocks are? And finally, W, way forward. This is the last step in the GROW model. Here, you're going to check for commitment and to help your team member set a clear action plan for what's going to happen for them next. Here are some examples of W, way forward questions. What options are going to work best for you? What is one small step that you're going to take right now? What actions are you going to take? Where are you going to get started? Who could help you? How will you know that you've been successful? How are you going to ensure that you'll do it? On a scale of 1 to 10, how committed and motivated are you? Okay, so how did you go with that? There are a few things that I want you to notice that are going to help you move forward in your coaching even more. You may have noticed that there's no question starting with the word why. This is deliberate. Questions that start with the word why tend to imply judgment and often create a negative impact on your team member and the way that they're answering the question. We don't want them to need to justify their answers or themselves. So to get the best out of them, you want them focused, relaxed, and in rapport with you. Why questions often cut rapport. Also with the above questions, you'll notice they're all open questions to get your team members talking. We really don't want yes or no questions. So use your active listening skills, be present, and be willing to sit in the power of the pause. Now what I mean by that is shut up more often than you normally would. Create a space and allow them to speak the way they need. So there you go. I'd love to hear how you're going implementing the GROW model. It's flexible, it's a powerful model, and it's a super helpful tool to have in your leadership tool belt. So you've made it, well done. I want to give you a bonus on one of the points we've discussed today, and that is about the shutting up point. I've created a video called Shut Up to Create Greater Impact. It can be a bit of a tough skill to learn for some of us. So I'm going to run you through exactly what you need to know so that you can be more comfortable with the power of the pause or shutting up. I'm going to explain more about that in the next video. See you in a sec.